All righty. Well, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another edition of the Unpredictable Pipeline. We are talking to marketing leaders who have been navigating their teams, their companies, their industries through 2020, different year than we all expected. And we've got some really great stories and some examples of what marketers have done, marketing leaders have done this year that are having an impact on how they think about 2021 as well. Very excited to have with us today Jen Jones. She is the CMO at Dataminr. And Jen, thank you so much I know you're super busy, but thanks for taking time to join us here today.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me, Matt.
So there were a few trends, sort of themes that when we talked before that I want to make sure we cover that I thought were unique to the stories we've been hearing from other CMOs. And one thing you kind of mentioned casually in our last conversation is, we started preparing for this in January. This wasn't in most people's mindset until like March, right? I mean, we kind of heard about some like stuff going on overseas, but this wasn't something we thought a lot about domestically. Why January? What did you see? What did the company hear? And what were some of those early preparations that you put into place?
Yeah, so just by the nature of what we do, not to get into that, but we actually sent out an alert to our customers at the end of December, letting them know about this new novel coronavirus that was seeming to take hold in China. So we had an alert out before the US government, before the CDC, before the World Health Organization. So we sort of had our own knowledge, just like our customers do, and had started prepping in advance. Not quite sure that we would need to shut down at that point, but even in January, we were talking about what it would mean if we did, what that would look like. We're 7 offices across the globe, and started having those early discussions. So we sort of saw it coming.
Yeah, well, I mean, that gives you a little bit of a head start. So, if things happen slowly sometimes and then suddenly. So what were some of those early pivots that you made in your go-to-market strategy, knowing this was coming, but then also just seeing it come to fruition?
Yeah, so because our customers are people who manage risk for their organizations, they were busier than ever. So they were reacting to this just like everybody was, but they were sort of on the front lines for their organizations. So we just really focused on how do we serve our customers, think about our impact from that perspective. How do we just focus on helping our customers in the moment? And I feel like that was the right thing to do for a lot of reasons, but also for our business.
Yeah. And then, you mentioned too that your team didn't miss a beat. And I think, that's, I think that's done by leadership in the moment, as well as having your team prepared for hurdles. I mean, we were talking earlier that, COVID was an excuse maybe for poor performance or, difficult times in Q2 of this year. But look, we face obstacles in our businesses all the time, right? And so this is yet another set of hurdles. What were some of the keys to helping your team maintain continuity and results, even in the face of increased headwinds?
Yeah, I was really proud of my team. We were very very in-office culture, 5 days a week. It's a little different than most tech companies these days. So pivoting on a dime to completely virtual globally was a huge change. And I'm not kidding when I say we didn't miss a beat. It was like we packed up at 5 o'clock on a Tuesday and knew we wouldn't be back into the office until who knows when. At that point, we were thinking weeks. Now we're sort of looking at July. And we sort of just moved everything virtually the next morning. So I think there were a couple things being prepared just from a technology standpoint of having collaboration tools in place. We were already, even if we were sitting next to each other, we were used to collaborating in Google Docs, and we have an Asana board that we rely on. We were already meeting with colleagues in other offices, so even in-person meetings had a virtual component to them. So we already had a lot of that in our toolkit, even if it wasn't the way that we only worked. We still were used to working in person. So I think that helped us sort of adjust quickly. And also, I just kept reminding everyone, just stay focused on our customers, support our customers through this time, and you can't go wrong.
Yeah. All right. So we're here, beginning of Q4. We're all starting to think about next year. This is already one of the more difficult planning seasons I've seen, both for our own organizations as well as with a lot of our clients, CMOs. What are some of the lessons you've learned this year that you're taking into 2021? What are some of the themes you're using with your team to make sure you guys are preparing for, whatever headwinds may come, but also preparing just to hit your number, continue to contribute?
Yeah, I think we're still in a very rapid growth phase, which is exciting, even in these days. So we're really trying to focus on how do we continue to grow smart, right? How do we make the right decisions, make the right bets for next year, take what we've learned. We know that it's not like things just magically we're going to flip a switch and the world will go back to how it was in December of 2019. Things are going to change. Some things will go back to what we think of as normal. Some things will continue to be different, right? I think we've learned some things. Like I know in marketers, we talk a lot about virtual events. We're all seeing how that can work, and events probably change a lot. There are some things that will return. So part of it is looking at your crystal ball and trying to decide where you want to place your bets, where things will um, remain changed and evolved
Mhm.
going forward, versus which things we're ready to get back to, like getting back into the office with each other. So that's one way we're looking at it. I think another thing is with uh, my team itself. Um, it's hard, it's very different to be completely virtual all the time. So even when I've worked in virtual environments before, there's always that notion of, we'll all get together once a year, or the new people get to fly to headquarters and meet people in person. So we're hiring and onboarding and having people join who have now been here for months and have never met anyone in person, which is a strange dynamic. So I think that's something where I know my leadership team are really starting to look at for next year, knowing that this is how we'll be operating for a bit longer.
Awesome. Well, I want to thank you again for being here. My last question for you is, we are going to be in this situation, I think, in some increment for a little while. Eventually, we're going to get back to some new normal. Like we did that after 9/11. We did that after 2008. We'll get there. What's something you miss from the old normal, miss from the beginning of the year that you're looking forward to getting back to? And then also, what's something maybe you don't miss that you've realized that, doesn't have to be part of your life or business or professional sort of life moving forward?
Yeah, I don't miss my commute. I had a very long commute into my office 5 days a week, so I have a feeling that that's something that may not return to 5 days a week, but we'll see. So something I don't miss. I There's two things I miss the most, and I think it all comes back to people. But the truth is, I miss going to see customers. I miss being able to fly and travel and see customers in their location and see how they're using us and hear their stories firsthand. It's very different doing that virtually or over the phone. So I miss
Yeah.
that. And I miss, I miss my marketing team. I miss, and our whole company. I miss being able to see people in person and have those, everybody says it, right? Bumping into each other at the coffee pot, right? So missing those moments. And I think that's a tough thing to recreate virtually, even though I know we're all trying to come up with creative ideas to do
Oh, it's not tough, it's impossible. When I ask that question, like 95% of the time, the answer comes down to some version of, I miss people, and I think we
that.
all, we've been doing Zoom for all of 4 or 5 years. We've been interacting face to face for at least tens of thousands of years. So, we'll get back to some version of that. Hopefully, you don't have to go to the office in that long commute 5 days a week, but if we can, sort of find a good balance moving forward, I think that benefits everyone. Well, Jen Jones from Dataminr, thanks so much for joining us. This has been great. I love hearing your insights. And thanks everyone for listening on another episode of the Unpredictable Pipeline.
Thanks, Matt.